Instagram. It's like mission control here. You got to hit a hood. I don't know why Instagram has to do their own thing. Come on.
It can be complicated.
Always. Oh, we're on YouTube. I see it on my phone. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are here with Kara down in Fort Worth, Texas, where she doesn't have to wear a hoodie because the cold front never made it to Texas, but it did to St. Louis, and it is glorious. Feels so good today. But we are getting ready to record a trip report, so hang out with us for the next little bit here. And let's see here. Oops. I need to put the link, and then we can get going. Be our guest podcast. If I could spell Disney right, that'd be. All right, here. Now we're set. Okay. I think we're set there. 2537 is the show number. So hopefully everybody is having a great week. I see we have a lot of folks over there on YouTube and Facebook and all those places. So thanks for jumping in tonight. Just hang out with us. If you have any comments, put them in the comments below. And I think we will get started. I'll pull up the notes again. All right. You ready, Kara?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2537 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend wherever the show finds you. And the weekends are going to start getting better, at least if you are kind of in the same mindset that I am. And from the pre-show, I've been talking with Kara, our great guest today. We get along very well already because football season right around the corner. And I'll tell you what, I know some people might say, Mike, preseason football has already started for the NFL. No, that stuff, the stars don't play. No, I'm talking college football for one thing. We got to get to college football season, high school football, especially. Friday Night Lights is where it's at. My dad, of course, he does work for the Rams, so he's out in Los Angeles for training camp. So I know that it's getting there. Like there's a little bit of in the Missouri, we got a little cold front this week. Got a little bit of bite to the air in the mornings. It almost feels like the fall, but then we're going to get that where it gets back up to 105 again when the football season starts. It's just teasing us. But man, we can taste it. Football season's almost here. And we know Halloween parties down at Walt Disney World, they got to be starting. The pumpkins are already on Main Street. It's time to go. Seasons are changing. So hopefully you're having a great weekend, having a nice start to your week. And by the way, teachers heading back to school, have a good school year. And all the students, make it the best year ever. So let's do that with some fun Disney talk. Again, we have a great guest joining us today from down in Fort Worth, Texas. And I got to say, welcome to the SEC, to all the state of Texas, because you're all part of the family now. From all of us here in Missouri, Kara's joining us. Kara, happy Monday. What's going on?
Thank you, Mike, for having me on. And yes, we are joining the SEC. And I know Texas is the big talk, but I got to say OU's coming too. So the Sooners are ready to join.
That's right. I know. Listen, it's going to be a rough night in Columbia, Missouri, because Oklahoma comes back to Columbia for our football fans. And this is all we've been dreaming of since homecoming 2008 or I can't remember what it was. It was a glorious night, though. It was on ESPN. We were ranked both high. We came out squeaked out with the win after game day was on campus that day.
Oh, I remember that. I was in college during that time, so I remember that game.
We rushed the field. It was glorious. I know the Alabama fans say we don't rush the field. Hey, I'm a Bama fan too, and I get it. But I mean, we're Mizzou, so whatever. We do our own thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sooners do too, so it's okay.
Exactly. Sooners, Tigers, we're Disney fans today. So that's what we're talking about. So I can't wait to talk Disney with you. And before we get into your trip, because we have a lot to talk about on the trip itself, you have a great backstory. But even before, because you were a cast member who did some really cool things with the company. But I want to ask even before that, because, in our childhood or, young adulthood, we all kind of make connections with Disney. So like, where did it start with you? Like, where does the Disney fandom start even before getting to work for the mouse?
Yeah, you know what? It started for me immediately as a little girl. So I have a really neat story where my dad's cousin worked at Walt Disney World, and he actually helped create attractions and shows. And he was part of creating the Voyage of Little Mermaid at Hollywood Studios. And we went to Disney every 3 years when I was a child. We were very lucky to get to visit quite often. And we went to see him when that ride was, or that attraction was opening. And Jodie Benson was there. And
No.
so I got to meet Jodie Benson and have an autograph signed by the real Little Mermaid. And I remember going to this premiere of that show, and I had the Ariel costume on, and I was a little girl, and I just ran to Jodie Benson. And I still remember to this day that moment of meeting her. And that just kind of started that really true, deep love of Disney for me. And I knew I was always going to work there. One day I was going to work there.
Okay, so we have too much in common because you're a football fan from Texas joining the SEC. I got to tell you this because that is absolutely. I love that attraction. For one thing, I like the retro like lasers. I think those are
Yes.
like laser writing. That's just like
Yeah.
my vibe. I love that. But I got to tell you, Ariel is my oldest daughter Paige's favorite princess from way back when. And just like 2 hours ago, as we're recording this show, I gotta, how Google does the memories and shoots you back, like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. I got it. I'm old. I got a thing that said 20 years ago today of the day we're recording the show, and it shot back a whole bunch of photos from we were in the Magic Kingdom 20 years ago today of the day we're recording. And it was myself, my wife, and my daughter Paige walking around the Magic Kingdom, and no doubt she was wearing her little. It was like a bucket hat that had Ariel on it, and she's on the rock. Now this is a extinct attraction at the Magic Kingdom now, but do you remember in Fantasyland? You probably do, where it was called Ariel's Grotto. It was a meet and greet.
Yes. Yes.
She's on the rock. She's only like, it was 20 years ago. She was 7. So she was on the rock doing that, like, like Mary, where she sings a song and the big wave splashes up behind her.
She's doing the pose.
Yeah, she's doing that like with her little pink bucket hat, 7 years old. I mean, like one of our very first trips to Walt Disney World, like as a family, 2004. And that came up today. So like she's actually home from Chicago right now as I'm recording. I'd like want to yell out there, guys, Kara got to meet
I
Jodie
love
Benson.
it.
She would lose her mind. But I mean, how cool is that to get to do that as a kid? I mean, what a connection. That's so awesome.
It was great. We were very fortunate that he would take us behind the scenes on attractions and see how costumes were made and just really the life of a cast member back then. So it was a very, very special moment for our family.
So then tell us about because you went on and you said, someday you are going to work for the company, which you
Mhm.
did. It actually happened for you. And you were talking in the pre-show. I was like, well, did you do college program? Because we have so many folks come through that did, get to do that or seasonal employment, stuff like that. But then you told me you had a very unique position within the company, which I really envy because I'm a creative. Like I like to have this show is an outlet to get to talk to people, get to create
Yeah.
things, and get to go on social media, different ways to promote things. It's fun for me to think about different ways to get my opinions and stuff out there. But you got to do something where you got to inform and be creative in the way you did it. I love this idea. So tell us about what you did.
I did. So after college, I actually went on to their professional internship program and I wrote for their magazine called Eyes and Ears. At the time, it was their internal magazine and they were just starting their hub as well. And so basically, they told me create whatever kind of article you want to have. And so I decided to do one where I wrote what it was like to be a cast member at different locations and different and unique places. So I was telling you earlier that one of them was Cirque du Soleil. So I went to Cirque du Soleil and studied with them for a few hours, learned how to do some of their amazing tricks, and just interviewed those cast members about what it was like to work at Cirque du Soleil. Or, for example, I went to France and when in the France Pavilion, and when they were having a new debut of products in their store, I wrote what it was like to be a cast member at that pavilion and to come from France and work at Epcot. And I got to do all these different types of unique articles where I even got to become a face character for a day.
Oh,
So I went to the tryout process and learned, okay, how do you try out to become a face character? And then writing about that and then getting to experience it. And there was nothing like that moment of having that interaction with children who were there, and I'll never forget it. It was a truly unique experience and an internship that was a great jumpstart to my career.
so for somebody listening to a podcast like this, I can only imagine that role is, I mean, that would be like the role of a lifetime for somebody like me and for probably 95% of our audience, right? Because you get to go around, and I've always, I don't know if I'd want to take that position on forever, right? But I mean, to like live a day in the life, because I've always said,
Mhm.
oh, I'd like to be a monorail driver just to see what that'd be like. But I wouldn't probably want
Exactly.
to
I
go
wrote
for,
about that too. Yeah,
yeah, it'd be fun to do for a day, like just to
it was.
interact with the guests and to be able to zoom past the Polynesian a few times. But I mean, to be a face character, like we all, I think, in our mind's eye, you see the commercials and you wonder, like, what would it be like to make this child's day, or this
Exactly.
87-year-old person's day that came all the way from the other side of the planet, who's been dreaming of this day for 5 decades, like, and I mean, what a great position. I mean, do you have any other stories of, I mean, Lanuba too? I mean, those are amazing, because I didn't get to see Lanuba until I went to see Drawn to Life. Went to a media event a few years ago when they changed it over. But I was astonished at the athletic ability of these.
Oh, it was intense.
I came home and because my daughter's a cheerleader, I said, "You would not believe the athletic ability of these performers. It's unbelievable." And I mean, is there anything else that kind of sticks out? Because wow, you got to bounce around and do some cool stuff.
I did. One of my favorite stories was I actually went to the Polynesian and I met a cast member who was one of the very first cast members to start working at that resort when it opened. And she had been there the entire time and was retiring. And she had moved from Hawaii to Florida and was part of the opening of this resort. And meeting her was just honestly a moment that was just so special because she had been there for so many years and was telling me stories of how the resort had changed and the guests she had met, and then what it was like to be a cast member there as well. And so I just got to meet so many cast members who had touched thousands of guests over their course of working at Walt Disney World Resort. And those were some of my favorite stories. When I actually left and moved back to Texas, they framed one of the editions for me, and it was the photo I took of the cast member at the Polynesian in that story. And so that will hang in my office once we kind of get settled into our new home, and it's just something I'll always remember.
That is so special. And it makes me think, and I know that, Dave Smith was the great archivist for the Disney company, passed away a few years ago, but do they have all of these eyes and ears and your articles archived somewhere? And I mean,
I hope so. I know the magazine has changed. I believe it's a different name now. And I know all of since social media is more prominent now, I know all of that has changed, but I know that they still have those. And I still have a lot of my copies as well.
Good, because there's lessons to be learned for cast members, and I know traditions and all that has changed over the years. It used to be, I think, longer and more intense. And I've never been a cast member, but you hear the stories if you're a Disney fan that it's a little bit quicker now and not as intense, and we have opinions on that. But it would be a great learning opportunity to have something as a resource like that, because I think most folks that go in that want to become cast members would probably love to learn, because I mean, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to do what you did, but if you could read the article of what it was like for you to be a face character for a day, or what it was like for you to see, to come over from France and work in the pavilion, because you might not get that position, but you could learn a little bit about what it is to take on that perspective. I think that'd be, God, what a resource. That'd be
It
great.
is. And it also gives you an appreciation for other cast members. I worked at Casey's Corner and that was intense. And
Oh,
you had to be
man.
on the entire time. And I just left in awe of those cast members and the fact that they could do that all day long, every day with a smile on their face and, happy to be there serving all of the guests.
Yeah, my buddy in high school talked me into working at the only Chick-fil-A in St. Louis at the shopping mall right before Christmas. When I was in high school, 3 weeks I made it. I was like,
Oh,
nope.
yes.
I
It's
can't.
intense.
Oh, No, and I mean, yeah, the Casey's is like that 24/7. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
Black Friday, like 365 at that place. I mean, no, thank you. I was like, no way. I'm going back to the roller
Yep.
skate. I think that I was my only
That's how
move.
I was. It's like, this is not for me. Let's go to the next one.
Come work for me, man. You get free food on your break. I'm like, I love Chick-fil-A, but I mean, it's not worth
Me
like
too.
the 75 nuggets I can eat for 30 minutes. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I'll pay for them. Yeah, it was wild. Okay, so let's get I love this. So I could talk about that all day, but let's talk about your trip. So you guys went down to the Polynesian. But how did this
Mhm.
trip come together? Because it's multifamily, right? You went with some other folks?
It is, yes. So, just a little background. I have a family of six, my husband, myself, and then we have four boys. But I was pregnant on this trip in January with our fourth son. We took our two oldest boys, who were 5 and 7, and we left our 1 year old at home. And before anyone says, how can you leave a 1 year old at home? It was really because we were traveling with our best friends. Our best friends have never been there before. Their two oldest are the same age as my two oldest, and due to their intense jobs, they can only take off so many days at a time. So they can only be gone for 4 days at the most. And we knew we were going to go from sun up to sundown with our 5 and our 7 year olds and pack in as much as we possibly could. And that just was not going to work for our 1 year old, who has been many, many times. He went as an infant. So all of our kids have been plenty of times.
He's not keeping score yet.
No, not yet. I'm sure he will
They,
when he's
they will
older.
though. I tell you what, Mallory keeps score because I go for all these
Yes.
race weekends and sometimes for like a media thing, or she keeps score. I'm just saying, I'm like,
Yes, my
it's
oldest does now. He's like,
cheerleading.
"You're gonna go run again? Can I come?" Not
I
yet.
know. I'm like, but you got
Yeah.
cheerleading. You could go, but I can't. But I'm like, well, then you can't.
Yes,
You know what? What do you want me to do? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so how
exactly.
did you first time for your friends though? So was this something that they brought up to you because you're such a Disney
They
fan? You hooked them in. I mean, how's this go?
Exactly. They've heard me for years talking about our amazing vacations that we take there, and they felt overwhelmed by the planning. She said that they knew they really wanted to go with someone who could help guide them and fit in as much as they could in such a short time. I think that's why it's sometimes valuable to travel with friends or family who do know the parks, or use an experienced planner like the Magic for Less travel. Just help take that stress off your plate.
So you guys, and that's a good resource because I've had a lot of people tag along with me, like fellow. We had one of my principals was she just happened to be down there at the same time, and then like was like a magnet with us the whole trip. Tracy, shout out Tracy Shorley, what's up? And we had a good time because she had a little niece with her. She hung out with Paige, and we had a blast. So, but it is good to have somebody. Now she's like the Disney nerd. She knows more than I do. Her whole office with the school was Disney. It was awesome.
Yeah, see, you get them hooked. It's perfect.
Exactly. It's like whew, you're in. So yeah,
Yep.
exactly. She listens probably more podcasts than I do now. But it's fun when you get to see it through your friends' eyes when they're new at it because they'll see things you don't see because we're so like sometimes focused on making sure that our friends are going to have a great experience that we're so like on the micro. I think a lot of times they're more macro looking at the big picture and seeing, oh, well, look at the whole park here where I'm like, okay, we got to get from here to here, point A to B. If we don't do that, then C will be a mess. And,
Right.
it's a vacation, right? And I think that that's it. When you have two very different experience levels, it does make the trip better, I think, because you're seeing it from two different angles. You're not so like driven to get things done. It I've noticed like when I take first timers, plus you were expecting, which I think is going to be a key to this trip that when you have to slow down, it makes the trip better. I mean,
Yes.
when we went for our first anniversary with my wife when she was expecting Mallory, best trip ever. I thought, well, we're going to go, but we're not going to have very much fun because we can't ride much. But
Yeah, but you can snack a lot.
we ate, we snacked, we watched shows, we sat down and got just watched parades while we just ate a snack on a bench waiting for it. We did the fire. I mean, there's so much to do. We did little rides, rode the trains, and we had the best time ever. I mean, it there's so many different ways to see Walt Disney World. I think you figure out after the years, which I'm sure you see. But I mean, was that something that you discovered throughout the trip that even though you couldn't do Big Thunder and stuff like that, it was okay?
It was, yes. And I have traveled every time I've been pregnant to Disney. And so I kind of know what to expect. And it actually works out really well because I would stand in line for characters. And those are not formal queues. So I would stand in line and they would go ride a ride, or I'd go collect snacks, and then they would meet up with me and we'd be right there to meet the character, or I'd have snacks for everyone. And they kept cracking up the entire trip because they'd come back and I would have eaten some sort of new delicious snack while they were on a ride. And sometimes I wouldn't bring them any. So it was my little treat.
I'd rather do that than ride the rides at this point in my life.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great for me.
I'm saying you won the deal. Okay, so you guys went down in January. Now from Texas to Florida, expecting kind of warm weather because, well, and I mean, a lot of our, especially the folks that run, because marathon weekend, January in Florida could be a crapshoot. I mean, it can.
You never know what you're going to get.
Totally. It Baltimore. It could be 90. It could be 92 in Florida in January. But I mean, I've run the race down there one year where it did sleet during the marathon. So you guys, you guys got the cold.
That's exactly
January,
what we had. It was freezing. One of the days was 37. And I know if you're from up north, you're like, that is a warm day for us. But us Texans were not expecting 37. So we kept adding more and more layers, and we purchased a lot of new items on that trip.
Yeah, I always say you're in trouble when it, like, if you're, well, you guys were at the Poly, but like when I'm staying at Pop Century and all of a sudden you see at the checkout counters, they have those cheap little gloves. Those little gloves. I'm like, that's when you're in trouble. When they start popping those suckers out, that means it's cold.
You're exactly right.
You don't want to see those. Okay, so you guys stayed at the Poly. So who decided on this? Like, was it one of your, like, I mean, because it's like, to me, it's the classic Disney resort, but was it a intentional choice by you? Your friends have any say in this? How'd you pick?
I did. So I sent my best friend 3 options. So I sent her the Polynesian, I sent her Yacht and Beach Club, and then I sent her Animal Kingdom Lodge, kind of something different. So I wanted her to really have the choice of which resort they were wanting to, and she loved the Polynesian. She thought that was the best option, and that's one of my very favorite resorts. It's so special, and it was a perfect place for us for a short trip where we needed to quickly get to where we were going.
That's a good call. I noticed you didn't put, like, All-Star Sports in there or something, just in case you didn't pick that, because it's like when you're picking restaurants, right? And I tell my wife, like, where are we going? She's like, well, pick 3, then I'll eliminate one. You got to make sure if you're picking 3, you put 3 in the pool that you're cool with. So
yes,
those are all 3 great choices. You were not going to lose either way. Nothing wrong with sports, but I mean, it's not one of those things, I can tell you that.
No, and I have a goal to stay at every single Disney resort, and so I love all of them, and they all have something valuable for when you're going and what you're looking for that trip. It's just I knew the budget that they had for this trip and what we were looking for, and those 3 were the perfect fits.
Plus, shorter trips allow for more deluxe accommodation. Like
it does.
Nights, you just, a lot of times it just, the price per night just takes you out of a deluxe category. You got to look moderate or value because of length of trip.
And I love the moderate value. We usually go 7 to 10 days with our boys, and so we usually do moderate and value. This was a really nice treat.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of how you got to think about it, right? I mean, it's like, hey, and plus, time is so much more valuable on a 4-day trip. I mean,
it is,
exponentially more valuable. Okay, so you guys go to, how hard did you, like, have a plan before you left Texas? Like, as far as what you're going to do each day? Because this was obviously, this was Genie Plus days. So now you can kind of pre-plan your lightning lanes, which I think is, I'm guessing you would have liked to have done this. You're a planner, right?
Yes, I'm a very big planner. To me, planning is just as fun as much as going on the vacation. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to really put together a great itinerary. So I had it pretty much planned out before we left. I, had Genie Plus booked. We also had DAS Pass for a member in our group. And then I would purchase lightning lanes. And so 7 a.m. the day we left, I was already on there. We were sitting on the tarmac getting ready to take off. And I had my phone pulled up purchasing for Guardians of the Galaxy because I knew they were going to want to do the virtual queue. And I purchased it because I knew once they went on once, they were going to want to go on twice.
Yeah. Okay. So you're perfect. The lightning lanes, you be on it 7 days out. You're good.
Yeah, it was no problem.
I love it. Okay. So you guys, well, let's talk about the Polynesian first before we kind of dive into the theme parks. Did it meet your expectations? How were the rooms? It's freezing. I hope you didn't get to even use the pools, anything like that.
We actually did. The resort was amazing. I love the food there. And we walked in, and the moment we walked in, they're placing those Hawaiian leis on you. Yeah. And greeting you, and we had our rooms, they were ready to go. And so we had groceries delivered to the resort as well, just for things like bottled water and a few items that one of the kids needed. And so that was a great way to just start the trip. We did use the pool. One of the nights, it was our warmer day. It was in the 40s, and we knew that was our warmest day. So we went back to the resort to hit the pools that evening. And the kids were jumping in. It's heated. They had no concerns for the cold. Well,
Kids
us
look
adults
good.
are all sitting on the side, like
Oh yeah.
bundled and shivering.
Oh yeah. I mean, there could be like a sheet of ice on top of that water, and they'd jump right
Yes.
through. Don't care.
Yep, they loved it. And it was perfect because we were swimming and the fireworks started going off at Magic Kingdom for Happily Ever After. And it was like a commercial. Our kids were swimming, the fireworks were going off. And my friend just looked at me and she said, "This is it. We're in the commercial. This is it." Like you could just tell that that's what they wanted.
And that's it. Everybody wants that moment. I'll be honest. Like when I'm with my family, that there is a moment like that almost every single trip that I swear, like, oh, we're in a commercial right now. Whether it's you're watching like a float go by and the princess looks down at my wife or something and wait the prince,
Yes.
kissing. I'm like, dude, we're just in a commercial. Like, where's the kid?
It's true. You see those and that's what you want. So it was really nice that she felt that.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the kids are crazy. I mean, I just remember one time because and when you're like, and my wife always says it was back in the days when I was trying to catch her, because the trip that I was talking about 20 years ago, we weren't married yet. Like this, because 20 years ago we were still dating, and I had told Paige, like, we go to Walt Disney World, like the pools are heated, like we can swim no matter how cold it is. And it was, well, this was in August, but we went in January that year too, and we stayed at All Star Sports that time. And I built it all up. Like we can still, it was over Christmas because we were both at the time. So it was over Christmas break. And so I told her, I was like, we'll swim, because that's all she wanted to do was swim. Oh, and we got down there and it was freezing just like it was for you. And I told Pam, I was like, our room is so far from that pool. There's no way I'm getting in that pool because I'm going to be wet and then have to walk. She's like, you've been telling her for 2 months. You're going to get in that pool. I'm like,
You're going.
She's like, I'm not getting in that pool. It's freezing. But you've been telling her you're getting in that pool. And I got in that pool. But I was just like, oh my God, I should not have said that, because it was so cold. But that's what you do to try to get your wife. Anyway,
You're right.
I'm married.
Yes, it obviously did. You did good.
Catch her. Exactly. Anyway, she always says. So you got down there and it's time to go to the parks. And it looks like you guys picked Epcot first.
We did. So we took the monorail over to Epcot and immediately went to Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm not sure if that was the right choice, honestly, because I kind of threw them on the best thrill ride.
Yes.
And they all went on that. And I went and got a snack. And I went shopping for a little bit. And they came off and they were all like, that was amazing, but that was intense. So I think I just threw them right into the water to start off with. And it was very fun. But we then hopped around, and it's something that was really important that day was we had a princess with us. So my friend's daughter is 5. And as I said, I have all boys. So my boys do not usually want to do the princess things. And that is very hard for me as a big princess fan. And they've been too shy and nervous to meet characters on previous trips. And my friend said meeting characters was one of the most important things to them. So Anna and Elsa was top of that list. We were walking through the new hub area, and suddenly just strolling in the hub area was Pluto, Daisy, and Donald Duck. It felt like Disneyland. There was no lines. Nobody was around then. And my kids just ran over and gave them big hugs. We're not scared of characters anymore. And the kids just thought they hit the lottery because these characters were just standing there walking around. And I really thought that was a neat moment.
I've not heard of that happening, especially at Walt Disney World. Like you said, you see Disneyland, it's kind of just par for the course. You see them walking around by the Matterhorn or fantasy, around Fantasyland places. But that's interesting, especially at Epcot.
I had not seen it before either. And so I'm not sure if that's a normal thing now, but it was a neat moment. And then we had to meet Anna and Elsa. So we made our way around the World Showcase that day. And then we hit Frozen Ever After. And this was something I almost made a mistake on. I think everyone should check character times because it's not something we usually do. So I just assumed character meet and greets went until the end of the day, but they stopped much earlier. And Anna and Elsa were stopping at 7 p.m. So it was 6:30 and we're on the ride. And I'm like, I'm just going to check Anna and Elsa to see what's going on. And I noticed it was 7 p.m. So we get off that ride and it's pouring down rain at this point, and we just book it over to where Anna and Elsa are. Luckily, it's not far. run up, and the cast member's like, oh, thank goodness, y'all are the last ones through.
Oh,
So we barely made it into that queue, but it ended up working out really well because they spent more time with us because we were the very last folks. And seeing my daughter, or my friend's daughter, was really a cool thing for me, just because it's not something I usually get to have. So I soaked up her meeting those princesses.
I was just gonna say, because I mean, on the next trip, you won't have your like rental daughter with you, you know.
Exactly. No. And my boys were so shy. They were so red meeting them. And we walked out and I was like, well, what did you think? And my 5-year-old's like, they're so pretty. So they're just very shy.
It gives your boys a chance to like go in there and have the experience with little
It did.
princess being with you, right? It gives them
Yep,
permission.
it
But if
did.
it's just the two brothers, you know, it's like, we can't do this. Yeah,
Yes, they always think mom's forcing them. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I'm girl dad, right? I mean, I've just had two girls my whole life, so I've been doing the
Yep.
princess thing forever. It's exactly. I wouldn't know what to do with boys. Like at this point, you know,
Yep.
I
That's why I
grew
said
up,
I wouldn't know what to do with girls.
I always thought I'd have sons, you know, and like be, you know, the football coach, and here I am, girl dad, you know. But I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, you get what you
Yeah,
get.
same.
You're just so lucky to have what you have. So you guys went back and did some swimming that night. Now it's killing me though already because you're taking first timers, and the next day you go to the Hollywood studios. And you're staying at the Polynesian. How are you not
Yep.
you're toying with your friends? You're right there at the
I
Magic.
know. So, and I did that because I wanted to take them to a special dining, and I could only get it for that one morning. It was very difficult to get.
You'd be killing me. I'm just saying, right? Because I'm just looking at these
I
notes.
know.
You're killing me, man. I got to go to the back. Because like when I got to Disneyland, we didn't have the first time in 22. We didn't have tickets the first day we got there. Like I said, a 5-day ticket. We were there for 7 days. We stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. I walked over to the gates and I knew I couldn't get in, but I just stood at the gate and just looked at the train station, and like I could hear the music, but I couldn't get in.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh.
The kids kept asking, when do we get to go there? When do we
Yeah,
get to go there?
for me, I'm 50. I'd have been like, can I get in, please? But anyway,
And this was not my normal order either. Usually Magic Kingdom's like our first day. And so I kind of had to reverse it to get the right dining options that they wanted, because sit down meals were important. And that's not something we usually do either. We usually skip sit down meals because my boys want to pack in as many attractions as they possibly can and shows. And so they don't want to sit down and eat. They just want to keep going and going and going. Where my friends, they wanted to sit down and eat. So I had to plan character meals and sit down meals every day.
So I didn't think about that because boys 5 and 7, they're probably not about any kind of sit down meals.
No, they don't want to sit down ever.
You said over at Epcot, did you do any of that day over there? I didn't see in the
We
notes.
did not, since that was our first day. I actually took them to Creations Cafe.
Oh, that place is so good. I like it.
It's so good. So we went there and then we munched, and then we went back to the Polynesian. We ate at the Polynesian. I love their food. You have to get the nachos if you're staying at the Polynesian.
yes.
So I wanted to make sure they had that, plus getting a Dole Whip there, an adult Dole Whip.
You cannot beat Captain Cook's.
No.
I mean, plus I love Kona too. I'm more of a Kona person than Ohana. I mean,
I love Kona as well.
Oh, so good. Okay,
The breakfast is my favorite.
Oh, the breakfast, the big kahuna. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, back to Friday. Friday, you're heading to the studios. You're toying with your friends. Magic Kingdom is
Yes.
it's a mirage. It's a scrim.
It is. It's total mirage.
Go.
Yep.
Tell us about the studios.
So we went over there early. We made sure to be there before early entry. We were some of the very first people that walked in, and my friend wanted to make sure she had photos in front of kind of all the main, points. So we got in there to take photos, and we headed straight to Toy Story Land. And we actually had some bad luck. I don't know what was going on, but they were saying there was no power in that area. So none of the attractions in Toy Story Land were up and going. We had to quickly make a detour, and we went over towards Star Wars and did those attractions instead and kind of explored that area. Luckily, we were able to go back quickly to Toy Story Land once it was up and going. And so it worked out well. They got to, see those rides, do Toy Story Mania, which is my boy's favorite. We are very competitive in our family. So it's always, who's going to win on that attraction. And then we went to 50's Primetime Cafe. I had not been there in years, and the food was fantastic. The servers were great. They were so much fun interacting with us. And I'm not sure who got a bigger kick out of, telling everyone to get their elbows off the table, but I really loved when they told the husbands and the kids to get their elbows off the table.
Yes, and don't have your cell phone out a lot of times.
Yes, no cell phone.
Yeah.
It was really great.
They'll tell you to put that walkie-talkie away if you're not careful.
Yes.
It's my wife's favorite sit-down restaurant anywhere at Walt Disney. She loves it. I love it too because I get my peanut butter and jelly milkshake, and I mean, I always get to sit
So
in the
good.
dad's sampler that has the fried chicken and the pot roast and the meatloaf, and
You
I'm
got the exact same meal as my husband.
exactly. I mean, what else could I ask for? I think it's got a little mashed
Yeah.
potatoes. I mean, there's some green beans. Hey, let's go. What's wrong with anything
Yep.
there? Yeah, just sign me up. So, and that's a great place to take first timers too, because it's not really it's not a character meal, but it's an experience and just good solid food. I mean, it's
It
got a
is.
yeah, I like that. It's a good call. What do they think of Batu of Galaxy's Edge? I mean, because it's so it's kind of the latest and greatest that Disney has to offer.
It was unbelievable, and somewhere I had never explored was the Droid Expo right there. And because we got there so early that morning, it was empty, and they were like, "You don't need a reservation if you just want to come in and make a droid. Come on in and make a droid." So we really got to explore that area without a lot of people around us, and they thought it was just so well done. Their son is a big Star Wars fan, so he really enjoyed that experience, and being able to take photos and see characters walking up on top of that little kind of like, I don't know what they call that, like that ledge, that high rise kind of
Mhm.
area right there. So they were kind of exploring, and it was very fun.
Yeah, to me, Batu gives me again of my generation, right? I mean, the Star Wars came out, the original Star Wars when I was 4 years old. So it's been with me like forever. It's like we talked about in elementary school and so forth. And I remember when I first went down there the weekend the Batu opened, Galaxy's Edge, when I turned that corner, because it was cool walking through the land at first and everything. But then when I turned the corner and saw the Millennium Falcon for the first time, and it was that big, and it was like full scale, and because it has all the sounds, they're like a spaceport. It was the moment I think that most people get going down Main Street seeing Cinderella Castle. Like
I think so too.
for like my generation in like my like kind of person, like the kids in my neighborhood in North St. Louis County. Like we always pretended like we were Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and we were in TIE fighters or we were on our bicycles, going around the neighborhood trying to blow up the Death Star. I mean, like, as a 45-year-old at the time going around that corner and oh my God, that's the Millennium Falcon and it's not a toy. Like it is right there.
Exactly.
I think that gives a lot of folks like our age, like my age, like that's the Cinderella Castle moment because it's that scale. I hope
Yes.
people like that too. It's Disney does some cool stuff, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So that's pretty cool.
I don't think so either. We had to try the blue and the green milk. I don't know if you've tried that, but we have a big debate in our family of which one's better, if you're team green or team blue. And so I had to make sure everyone tried the blue milk and the green milk as well.
So what was the winner? I haven't tried either because I've heard they're both kind of terrible.
I I'm not a fan of the green one. I'm team blue. I think it tastes kind of like a Starburst. I think it's pretty good, but I'm not a fan of the green one. But half my family likes the green one, and it was split. It was a 4-4 vote for each of them.
There you go. See, I just drink my Coke Zero, or well, actually, they don't have Coke Zero. They have Diet Coke out of the thermal detonator and call it a day. I'm like, that's
Yes.
yeah.
Well, as a Texan, I always want Dr. Pepper, and they don't carry that anywhere on property.
Yeah.
So it's you have to try something else.
That's all my father-in-law drinks too is Dr. Pepper, man.
Really?
He's coming over like Don's coming over. Oh, no, I gotta run to the gas
Oh
station.
God, exactly. That's what we are too.
Doctor. Yeah, totally, 100%. My wife drinks the diet Dr. Pepper because she's a good daddy's girl. Okay, so you guys did that. Now, let's take a break here before you go to the last park day. You mentioned you're using DAS and Genie Plus, supplementing with
Yeah.
individual lightning lanes. How was this working for you? Like working those systems kind of meshing together. You're an experienced traveler. You know how to do all these things. Did the system work well for you with this kind of two families working together here?
It did. So if anyone's ever used a Dash Pass, it has a 6-member limit when you reserve it online. I do know it has since changed since our last vacation there, but if you have more than that in your party, you can go up to a cast member, kind of explain your situation. And I explained that we had 8. The kids were going to want to ride together, and I was going to probably not be riding the majority of the rides. So really, it was 7 for that. But we had the DAS, and then I also did Genie. Since we had such a short trip, that was one thing my friend said. She's like, I don't want to wait in lines. I do not want to waste any time doing that. And so I made sure they didn't. And we really did not wait in hardly any lines the entire trip. So when they were in line for something and they were going like on, Millennium Smuggler's Run, Millennium Falcon, I would be out there figuring out where we were going to text and looking at my phone. The only downside is I did feel like I was on my phone quite a bit, but I tried to do it while they were in queue for something and they were on a ride. So I was managing it kind of when they were doing that. But I would alternate. I would have my Dash Pass set up knowing where we were going and then do Genie Plus kind of in between there and setting timers on my phone when it was time to check in for each of those.
It's a good trick to use the timer on your phone to kind of get a reminder
Yeah.
of when it's time to look for something else. And that's one thing I've kind of trained myself to do too, because I'm aware that I don't want to spend a lot of time on my phone when I'm on vacation because
Yep.
I spend my whole day every day at home sitting in front of a screen, big screens, right? Because I book travel and I'm making podcasts and editing all the shows and, monitoring social
Exactly.
media. Like it's screen time, screen time, screen time, like all my life. Then when I'm on vacation, I don't want to be like just burning the CPUs in my brain trying to figure out what's the optimal strategy to get on rides, right? I just want to be able to quickly get in and out. But what I've learned is exactly what you said. I try to do it while I'm in a queue because I'm kind of, I feel like I'm kind of multitasking, like I'm standing in line. Okay, pick something real quick while I'm kind of trapped here in a line anyway, and then just put the phone away and be with the people I'm with.
Exactly. I agree.
Meals or, don't want to do it like, cause I see people doing it like during a parade, you know what I'm saying? Like you're giving up the great experience. Like there's a parade going or during fireworks, you'll see them looking at their phone, booking something. I'm like, the Tinkerbell's getting ready to fly. You're booking. What are you doing? The night's over. Quit messing with your phone. Like just
I know. I do think you have to put it away and be present in that moment. And that's hard when you are adding that additional cost on and you're thinking, okay, how can I use this the best of my abilities? So I've not had a chance to use the new system, but we'll be going again soon. So I'm hoping to try it then.
it's a balancing act. It is. I mean, and I think,
Mhm.
the more we go, the more blessed we are because you don't feel the stress of like, I have to do everything, because if I don't do Space Mountain this trip, I don't care. Like if I do, I do. If I don't, I'll do it maybe next time. Maybe I'll go
That's a
get
good point. I did feel a little bit of stress to get in as much as I could for them
yeah,
because I
yeah,
didn't know when they would get to go again. And so for me, I was booking everything just
true.
constantly, like I said, on my phone because I thought I want them to experience it where my kids they'll experience it another time. And my kids were leading them around the parks saying, here's this and here's that. They know it better than most people. So they were great little tour guides as well.
If we only had the motor of a 5 and a 7-year-old boy.
Exactly. Yes. And you know what? I ended up renting a stroller. So one of my favorite tips you have shared, and this is what I love to share with people as well, is I do not like to bring a stroller on the airplane, especially when I know my 5-year-old may or may not use it. And so we don't rent from Disney. We usually rent from a company called Kingdom Strollers, and they'll meet you at your resort or you can pick it up at the airport. And I love to take it in case my 5-year-old does need it, but then I'll park it
Yep.
somewhere. Like if we're in Fantasyland, I'll park it in Fantasyland. We'll complete all of Fantasyland, and then I'll go back and get the stroller. That way, I have it at the end of the night for when he is truly exhausted and cannot walk out of the park after walking 20,000 steps.
Yeah, we always take it as Mallory kind of got to that age. We weren't sure. We just because we had our own. We just had a little. We used to drive back then, though, so we just threw it in the back of the car. But we just park it right there at City Hall at the Magic Kingdom as we went in. Just left it there and it was in the park if we needed it. And if we did, I just run up to City Hall, grab it, or it was not City Hall, but across the street there by the by Tony's, and grab it. And it was there. If not, if you said to remember on the way out though to grab it, because it was one night
Yes.
I got like the bus corral or something. It pops into. I'm like, oh, the stroller. I'm like, oh, and Pam just looked at me like, go get it, buddy. I'm like, oh man, I've got 40,000.
That's terrible after a long day.
I'm like, I guess she's like, guess you're having 45,000 today. I'm like, oh, stop. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So Saturday was a killer day though. You guys, I mean, you really have been saving the Magic Kingdom, but you saved it for a good reason. So tell us about this day.
I did. I saved it for our little princess because she wanted to dine at the castle. That was
Nice.
her request. And so we dined at Cinderella's royal table. And I made the reservation for before the park opened. So I think our reservations, when you're traveling with a large party of 8, it was very difficult to find dining. And so I would do 2 reservations, one for a party of 4 and the other one for a party of 4, and try to book them within 5 minutes of each other. So our dining reservations were for 8 a.m. and 8:05 a.m. And we got to go in before everyone else and take photos in front of the castle without anyone nearby, and that was something that they wanted as well. And so they have the most fantastic photos even though we're freezing and very bundled up that day. But we went in and I explained that we had 2 reservations. We were really one party. And so they set us tables right next to each other. And that's how it was at all of our dining reservations while we were there. And the cast members were fantastic about it, just because finding for 8 can be quite a challenge. And so, you walk in, you meet Cinderella, you get to take that great photo with her. And then we were able to meet Aurora, Merida, Ariel, and Jasmine. They all came by the table, and the food was phenomenal. It was our highlight of the entire trip. That was such a fun meal, and even my boys loved it. They're like, "Why have we never done this before?" And they said, "In fact, that's something they want to do again."
See, you gotta be careful. It's like my daughters; they will fall in love with the thing that is the most expensive. That's
I
every
know.
for my kids. Like I'm like, well, why can't you like something that's cheap? Like, why don't you like Casey's, like you mentioned?
Exactly.
We can do corn dog nuggets like every day. Like we can't
Yeah,
just
every day.
every day.
You're right. But I did
Yeah.
think it was worth it because you meet so many of the princesses. And so it really was, I thought, a good value for what you did receive. It was a great experience.
Well, especially for I think everybody needs to do Cinderella's roll table, especially like on a first trip if you can swing it, because I think again, this is the educator in me, where when you're good learning is about making connections, like real world to experiences. And I swear that I think anytime they watch a Disney movie, there's that intro where you see the castle outline. They're gonna, as soon as they see that, they're gonna associate that logo with that memory of your families together having that breakfast and that morning and the entire trip. They'll remember the entire trip together. It'll put a warm feeling in their heart. And anytime they see a Disney commercial now from now on with Cinderella Castle, they'll remember the trip. And I think when you have like a core memory like that and an experience, because you not only got to see Cinderella Castle, you got to experience Cinderella Castle. You got to meet
Mhm.
princesses inside the castle. That takes it to another level. It's expensive, but it's worth it. It's an experience you just cannot get anywhere else.
I agree. And I hadn't done it since I was a cast member. So it was really special to do it again.
So you guys did that to kick off the day, and then
Mhm.
you just, I guess you kind of just destroyed the Magic Kingdom the rest of the day, just tore it up with
We
Genie.
did. Yeah. So I booked Tron that morning and I did the same thing like Guardians. I did the virtual queue and then purchased the individual lightning links. I knew they'd want to ride it twice. And that was a hit. My kids also think it's now amazing that they had done something at Walt Disney World before me
Oh
because I
yeah,
couldn't ride it. And so now they're holding that over my head that they have done something before I have done it. And they all came off shouting, to the moon that that ride was phenomenal. And they didn't seem to mind that it was short. They all enjoyed it. And the pictures from it were fantastic.
yeah. The pictures and the video, if you have, because
Yes, the video is really neat.
oh my gosh, it's so cool. Like, I mean, especially again for my generation, like an 80s guy, like it's, dude, I'm like, I'm in the grid, like I have the video.
Yes.
Oh, here I go. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
But I had fun while they were writing it. I went over to Main Street Confectionery and I got the peanut butter cookie pie.
Oh,
And then I went on the People Mover and I love the People Mover. And my kids think that's hilarious. And they're like, it's so slow. I'm like, no, it's
it's perfect.
nostalgia to me.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
perfect. And so, like I said, I had plenty of yummy snacks while they were on all these attractions that I could not ride on.
You're both grounded for saying the People Mover's not awesome. That's
I
it.
know.
Grounded, and I'm going to get another piece of peanut butter pie.
Exactly. Yes. But I mean, I would go get pretzels or the Mickey ice cream bars, and there's so many great snacks that are seasonal too during that time of the year. So it was fun to go by and see what was new.
That's awesome. Well, and speaking of dining at the Magic Kingdom, it looks like you guys had dinner at Tony's, which
We
I
did.
think Tony's gets a bad rap. It's right there in the, town square, Magic Kingdom. Everybody walks past it on the way in, on the way out, right there. I don't even, I think most people don't even know it's there. It's the most like in your face restaurant at Walt Disney World. Every person walks past it twice. When you go to the Magic Kingdom in, out, but I bet you most people don't even know it's there. You don't notice it.
I, I think you're right. I always tell my friends who travel there to try to dine on the patio there because it's great
Mhm.
to people watch when it's nice weather. But we were sitting down watching the parade that day, and they had these really fun signs that the cast members were bringing by where while you were waiting, where they would come and take your photo. It was like first vacation or, just different signs that people could hold up. And we're sitting there, and my friends were like, okay, where are we dining at tonight? I was like, well, we already did dining a sit down meal. ate at Cinderella's royal table. I was like, we'll just, pick up something quick and keep going as much as we can. And they're like, no, we want to sit down and dine. So during the parade, I'm pulling out my phone, trying to figure out, okay, where can I get 2 reservations at? And Tony's came up. So we went over there quickly and dined. My 5-year-old fell asleep during it. He was asleep on the bench holding his little bowl of grapes. And, we were like, well, okay, we ate. So we finished eating and then we stayed. So we went and watched the fireworks. We actually met up with one of my other best friends who we were cast members together. We watched Happily Ever After. And then when that was over, the park closed at 11 that night and people just started leaving. Everyone was piling out. Well, we stayed and we were like, how many rides can we pack in between now and park closing? And I think it was either 7 or 8 in 90 minutes.
And we've said this 100 times. Isn't that the best? Like when you're trying, I love that feeling after fireworks, before park close. Like it feels like you're playing with house money, right? You're just like, we do as much as we can until they flow.
Exactly.
It's such it takes you back to being like 7 years old, no matter how old you are.
It does. And we were running from attraction to attraction. And the great thing is Big Thunder Mountain was closed that weekend for refurbishment. So we're coming around that corner. And I was sad because that's one of my very favorite rides and that they weren't going to get to experience it. We're coming around that corner and this cast member goes, hey, come over here. We're like, what's going on? And they're like, Big Thunder Mountain's open. Come ride it. We're letting everyone jump on. So they just took off running and screaming towards Big Thunder Mountain. And they let them ride it, I think 3 or 4 times in a row without getting off because nobody knew it was open.
Oh, that's Disney magic right there. That's exactly
it was. It was total magic. And so we just kept going and going. And, it was funny story that day. My husband, they were on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and my husband lost his cell phone on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Oh. He has been dozens of times with me on vacations there, and lesson learned, he had his phone in his pocket and not in the little back seat pocket on the ride. So he lost his cell phone on the attraction and we had to file a Disney, lost and found item to see about getting his cell phone back. So while they were just running from attraction to attraction, I was trying to keep up with the strollers and just kind of following along where they were. But it was a fun day. We packed in as much as we possibly could. And when we left that park, we stopped by Main Street Confectionery to get the kids some cookies and cake pops, and they were passed out in the strollers.
Oh man, that's a good day though. You know what I'm saying? Like when they're partied out. Like you've taken them.
They were partied out.
Oh, that cell phone story though, man, that's just give me sweaty palms. Because here's the deal: like I have an opposite philosophy on that. I never put my phone in that because I'm always scared because I leave things behind. Like
so does he, and so that's why he does it. But no,
in that thing, they're always like, put it in the bag. I'm like, no way, because I'll get up because I get back in like rock and roller coaster. I'm like, I survived. I'm like I'm on adrenaline, like I'm excited. I'm at the concert now, and I get off, and I'm like, I don't remember what I put in that thing, but 2 minutes later, I'm never putting it in there, so I keep it in my pocket. So I feel your husband's pain. Like,
yes,
I never do that.
But Disney found it. They mailed it to us, I think 3 days later.
Oh, 3 days without a cell phone. Oh my God, my life did. Oh, you're giving me cold sweat. Yeah. So, but you wrapped up your trip on the last day. It looks like on Sunday you did a little Disney Springs, Polite Pig. That sounds so good.
Well, and I forgot too, we went to Ohana's as well for breakfast that morning.
Oh, that's one. Do you agree? That's one of the best breakfasts on property, I think, because it's family style. I got some characters. I mean, it's Ohana.
It was delicious, and the hostess was actually from our small town that we are here in Texas, and so it was really neat to meet someone that was from our town. And we all got to be seated together. Again, I did the 2 reservations, but they had no problem putting us together. And it was great to meet Stitch and, end with seeing Mickey there. And no, not Mickey. It was Stitch. I'm trying to think who all is that. Ohana's anymore.
Well, it used to be Stitch and Mickey and
yes.
Lilo. And when it was years and years ago, but it was Stitch and Lilo, Mickey and Pluto, I think.
Yes, that's it. So Mickey was there. Yes, because he had his Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Costume on. Yes. So that's right. So it was a great way to wrap up our time at the resort. And then we headed to Disney Springs to do some shopping, went to the Lego store, went all around there. And then we went to Polite Pig for lunch before heading to the airport.
Okay, Texans, polite pig. Was this? I mean, does it hold up for Texans? Because you guys are, it's like I asked people from like
I thought it was
KC.
great.
Yeah, so good for you guys.
I thought it was great. I don't feel like it's Texas barbecue. I've never been to the Carolinas, but I know they said that's more comparable to Carolina barbecue, and so I would not know. But we thought it was delicious. Everything was great. We got the big kind of platter to share, and it was enough food, and everyone enjoyed it.
I'd go for it right now. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, I would too. It was. I would go back.
Swing by the studio and in the next 30 minutes with a little polite pig.
Yes.
I would not answer the door. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'd be okay. And it was great too because our transportation picked us up at Disney Springs. So have you ever heard of the Facebook page Ear for Each Other?
I have not.
So Ear for Each Other was started during COVID, and it was a way for cast members to go to a Facebook page and they would say, here's my services in case anyone wants to use it while here on vacation. So you could book transportation, you could have groceries delivered, cakes can be made, cookies. There's a cast member who will come to your hotel and do Jedi training who was a former Jedi. There's cast members who will come and they'll do like the Bippity Boppity boutique makeovers at your resort. So there's tons of different ways to connect with cast members on that page. Well, I found our transportation through there. And so this cast member has many different sizes of vehicles, but they had one that would fit all 8 of us. And they said on the last day, we'll go pick up your luggage from Polynesian and then we'll meet you at Disney Springs. We'll take you straight to the airport. So it worked out really well. And I loved supporting a former cast member.
Super cool. That's all. Yeah. And you know what? I had heard I just the name I remember in COVID that there was that connection that they were. I just didn't realize that was the name of the Facebook group. Yeah, but I remember everybody was trying to figure out a way just to survive because trust me, we were in that same boat when you book travel and all of a sudden all the cruise ships are parked and all the parks are
exactly
what's going on. I should have stayed in teaching. And I didn't yeah, exactly. My wife's like, you picked a great time to quit teaching, Mike. I was like, yeah, I know. I didn't expect this. But yeah, we made it. It's fine.
Exactly.
So as we kind of wrap this up, wow, what a whirlwind of a trip. But here's the question I got to ask you, because you have such great stories. And I mean, you've seen Disney in such a cool way. But what about your friends? It's been a while now. It's the fall. This was the last winter. Like, what's their perspective on things? Like when you guys got back home and things settled down, what did they say? I mean, was this an awesome trip for them? Was there something that they wish they could have done that they didn't get to do? Was there something that surprised them? I mean, what was their feedback once they kind of got in and things settled down?
No, they said it was the most magical vacation. They said they will not go back unless we go with them.
I always hear that.
And they want to go again. They're like, what are we going to do next? A cruise, Disneyland? Like they want to go do something else. And so that made me feel good. Like I did a good job planning this for them and that it was what they wanted. But it's something that, they've talked about with their friends at school together. And my son will come home and say, his friend that they talked all about what they're going to do the next time they go and how they're going to ride rock and roll roller coaster until they're sick, or they're going to go, do Haunted Mansion. And they'll talk about it and brainstorm all the time. And they both love to sit and look up YouTube videos, him and his friend watching the rides and planning what they're going to do together next time.
I love to hear that. It's fun when it's contagious with the family. Like it gives you something you can talk about in the car or, when you get together on the weekends or, after church, whatever it is, it gives you something to talk about. It is fun, especially when you have that shared experience. Cause like we took Paige's best friend one time when they were like 9, we took her best friend. I can't believe the parents let us take her. Like she was 9 years old. We took her best friend Molly for a week to Walt Disney World, just her friend. And then her parents went with us on another trip. We all went, both families. And just had the best time ever, but they had never been. And we showed them around just like you. We showed them around and man, it's fun going, with other friends that have never done it. You just get to hang out and, solo trips are great with your family, but when you get to, but also it's really like this with cruising. Have you guys ever done a Disney cruise? You guys fans?
We have not. And so that's something I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you all for. It's something we've never done. And I want to surprise our boys with it for spring break 2026.
Absolutely. Because I can tell, obviously you've done Disneyland. You mentioned that earlier. Because I've fallen in love with Disneyland. I love Walt Disney World, but just the quaintness of Disneyland, the history, and just how it's intimate. It's cute. It's just.
We're doing Disneyland next year because our 2-year-old is a Cars lover. And so I just think taking him there would be the perfect timing for him when he's 3.
Oh my gosh, Cars Land, my favorite land
Yeah.
in any park. Like when I went in there, my jaw dropped. I was like,
Yes.
am I in an animated? Like, is this real? Like I couldn't believe. I told Scott, I was like, I can't believe this. Like this is
I
unreal.
know, I can't either. It's unbelievable, and I think he's gonna have the same reaction.
Oh my gosh, it's so awesome, especially the shaboom or whatever that is when the lights.
Yes.
It's dusk. I was like, I live for this. But yeah, I'm telling you what, Disney cruise with friends, even without friends, man, I just did a Disney cruise with just my family, and we had the best time. I mean, best time ever a few weeks back, and it was awesome. But I mean, when you go with friends, because I mean, you get to hang out, on deck and just cut up and get to go to dinners with your friends every night, go to shows, and oh my gosh, it's so yeah, absolutely, you'll love it. This is right up your alley.
I will need help because I've never done that. So I'm excited to do something that I've never done.
They're so fun. All right, wait, Kara, thank you so much for taking the time to make this week just start off such an awesome way. I mean, everybody's listening today, whether they're on the subway or in their car, walking the dog, doing the dishes, whatever they're doing, getting ready for school. Everybody's got a smile on their face because this is what it's all about. It's about these great stories and just because everybody's making their connections to their trips or thinking about their upcoming trips. And what a great time you guys had. So thanks for sharing that and taking the time to make this week great for us.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
All right. Don't forget today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you get to your Disney destination when you're ready to head there, whether it's to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney. We are set to help you right away. Just check out all the details today. No cost to you at all. It's over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. Yes, it is time to go back to school. Do you still need pencils? Loose leaf paper? Probably not, but whatever school supplies you need. I did buy a pencil pouch for my daughter on Amazon. I guess they use pencils in high school still. Who knew? But when you buy those back to school supplies, whatever they are in your district, please use our link again, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys make all these shows possible. Couldn't do it without you. You can support us just $5 a month, and you'll get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over this week, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on the social media at beourguestmike. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And of course, we have so much fun every day, 24/7 in the clubhouse. It's our Discord server, totally free, no ads, no nothing, just a lot of fun. We'd love to have you over there. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. And finally, join us this Sunday night. Scott joins me. We open up the phone lines. It's the call-in show. It's you, me, and Scotty G. So join us Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. You pick your favorite streaming place. We'll be there waiting for your call. So we'll see you on Sunday night. But until then, we'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. But for Kara down in Texas, I'm Mike here in Missouri, wishing you a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. That was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a good.
Thank you for having me on. That was fun.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you had fun. That's great. And tell the kids, thanks for all their stories. They sound
they love
awesome.
listening too.
That's awesome. I appreciate them listening. It's so
I
cool.
always appreciate you being clean. So thank you for that, so that my kids can listen.
I am always, I don't let bad words come out unless I'm watching football. And then every once in a while, like an unexpected interception, you just never know. So
no, but I do appreciate it because there's some podcasts that are not. And so I want my kids to listen.
I was raised by a grandpa that was a deacon in a Baptist church, and my dad's a deacon in a Baptist church. So, and my dad listens. So.
Sounds like my life in Texas. So yeah,
it's a blessing and a curse.
It is. Thank you, Mike. I'll let you jump off. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Nice to meet you. And if you ever need anything, just give me a yell. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.